Hello and welcome back to our channel. Today, we're going to talk about a case that remained unsolved for 75 years, the brutal rape and murder of Evelyn Marie. We'll take you through the details of the case, how it was investigated, and how justice was finally served. Now let's get started. On a cold December night in 1946, 20-year-old Evelyn Marie was brutally raped and murdered in her apartment in a small town in rural America. The case shook the community and left investigators puzzled for decades. Evelyn Marie was born on July 25, 1925, in a small town in the United States. She was the eldest daughter of a family of 4 children and was known for her kind and generous nature. She was an excellent student and well liked by her peers and teachers. She was known to be an active member of her community, volunteering her time to various causes and organizations. She dreamt of becoming a nurse and was working hard to save money for her education. Unfortunately, her dreams were cut short on July 6, 1946, when she was brutally raped and murdered. Her death shocked her community and left her family devastated. For 75 years, her case remained unsolved until recent developments finally led to the identification and arrest of her perpetrator. Her memory lives on through the love and admiration of those who knew her and the determination of those who worked tirelessly to bring her justice. The murder of Evelyn Marie was a brutal and senseless crime that shocked the nation. Evelyn was only 20 years old when she was raped and murdered in her own home in 1946. Her body was found by her mother, who had come home from work only to find her daughter lying on the floor in a pool of blood. It was clear that Evelyn had been brutally beaten, sexually assaulted, and strangled to death. The community was in a state of shock and disbelief, and the police were under immense pressure to solve the case and bring the perpetrator to justice. After the murder of Evelyn Marie, the police and investigators immediately began their investigation. They collected evidence from the crime scene, including fingerprints, hair, and clothing fibers. They also interviewed witnesses who had seen the victim on the day of the murder or who had seen any suspicious individuals in the area. The investigation continued for several weeks, but unfortunately, the detectives weren't able to find any solid leads or suspects. As time went on, the case went cold, and it seemed like the perpetrator would never be brought to justice ever. However, in the late 1990s, advancements in forensic science allowed for a new DNA analysis of the evidence from the crime scene. This led to a breakthrough in the case and allowed the investigators to identify a suspect who had never been on their radar before. The investigators then used this new information to track down the suspect and gather additional evidence against them. After a lengthy interrogation and investigation process, the suspect eventually confessed to the rape and murder of Evelyn Marie. This breakthrough and subsequent arrest of the suspect were a result of tireless efforts of the investigators and the advancement of forensic technology. It brought a sense of closure and justice to the victim's family and the community who had been haunted by the brutal crime for over 7 decades. After 75 years of Evelyn Marie's brutal rape and murder, the case had gone cold. Law enforcement officials had exhausted all leads, and it seemed like the perpetrator would never be brought to justice. However, in 2019, a breakthrough in the case finally occurred. Investigators were able to use advanced DNA technology to match DNA evidence from the crime scene to a relative of the suspect. This was a major breakthrough as it allowed investigators to narrow down their suspect pool and ultimately identify the perpetrator. The suspect was brought in for questioning and eventually confessed to the crime. He had been a neighbor of Evelyn Marie's at the time of the murder, but had moved away shortly after the crime. It was discovered that he had a history of sexual assault and had been convicted of several crimes in the past. The breakthrough in the case and subsequent arrest of the suspect brought a sense of closure to the community and to Evelyn Marie's family, who had been waiting for justice for over 75 years. It also served as a reminder of the importance of never giving up on a case, no matter how old it may be. Thanks to advancements in technology and the dedication of law enforcement officials, justice can be served even after many decades have passed. After the breakthrough in the case, the police were able to gather enough evidence to arrest the suspect in Evelyn Marie's murder. They apprehended him at his house, and he was taken into custody without incident. The suspect was then charged with first-degree murder and rape, and he was held in jail while awaiting trial. The arrest of the suspect was a long-awaited moment for Evelyn's family, who had been waiting for justice for 75 years. Finally, they could rest easy knowing that the person responsible for their loved one's brutal murder was now behind bars. The arrest was also a testament to the hard work and dedication of the investigators who worked tirelessly to solve the case. After a long trial, the suspect in the rape and murder of Evelyn Marie was found guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The sentencing brought some closure to the family of the victim, who had waited for over 75 years for justice to be served. What made this even worse is that the murderer showed no remorse for his actions during the trial, and the sentence was seen as a fitting punishment for his heinous crime. Although the family knew that nothing could bring their loved one back, they were grateful that the perpetrator was finally being held accountable for his actions. The sentencing also served as a warning to others who might commit similar crimes that they too would be caught and punished for their actions. The brutal rape and murder of Evelyn Marie had a profound impact on the community and society as a whole. The crime created fear and anxiety among the residents, especially women who were afraid to go out alone or even leave their homes at night. The horrific nature of the crime left a deep scar on the psyche of the community, and it took a long time for people to regain a sense of safety and security. The murder of Evelyn Marie wasn't just a personal tragedy, but a social issue that raised questions about the safety of women and the need for better policing and justice systems. The case brought to light the need for more resources and support for victims of sexual assault and violence. It also highlighted the importance of community engagement and solidarity in the face of such heinous crimes. The impact of the crime wasn't limited to the local community, but had a ripple effect on the larger society as well. The case received widespread media coverage and sparked national conversations about rape and violence against women. It led to increased awareness and activism around issues of gender-based violence and the need for systematic change. In conclusion, the impact of the brutal rape and murder of Evelyn Marie was profound and far-reaching. The crime not only affected the victim and her family, but also had a lasting impact on the community and society as a whole. It serves as a reminder of the need for greater social awareness, justice, and support for victims of violence. That concludes our video on the brutal rape and murder of Evelyn Marie, finally solved after 75 years. If you found this video informative, then please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more true crime stories. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you again later.